Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another try at a BBC narrator's play of PUBG. Unfortunately, I have my sound set to audio on the desktop instead of through my headphones, so this doesn't quite sound right at the moment. But with a couple clicks, we're able to rectify the situation, and now we try to queue into a game of PUBG. As the narrator spawns into the map, he finds himself with two other players, Taco John and Carlon Chox, both of which he will depend heavily on to help him win this match.
I like it. Don't stop there.
The lobby is a lively bunch today. Instead of the usual nighttime stoic players, all AFK waiting for the game to start, everyone is running around throwing apples rather than eating them. This is a terrible waste of fruit and would never go over well in Great Britain. The narrator manages to randomly bounce an apple off another player's head, which pleases him.
Can you live your whole life as the narrator?
The narrator would answer that question if only he could speak in the first person. But if he could, he would probably say that yes, it would be quite the adventure. As the plane begins to fly off the map, none of the teammates have marked where they want to land, and therefore the narrator is unsure what he should do.
Dude, who said that?
This guy's geeking me out. Yeah, let's go docks.
Number 2 marks the docks, and therefore the narrator decides that he will follow, marking the boat on which he will land.
Dude, your voice is so narrator.
One of the players compliments the narrator on his voice, which is quite nice and pleases him.
I'm really enjoying this right now.
The narrator is glad that he decided to record this YouTube video during the day instead of the middle of the night, because the reception is quite better.
Looks like we got another squad coming docks.
One of the other teammates declares that another squad is going docks. This should be quite the adventuresome start to the game. As the narrator dies as fast as possible, he lands on some crates, hopefully landing himself a weapon and some ammunition right away.
This is amazing.
The narrator is also pleased to find that he has a full level 2 set of gear and plenty of ammo to take out the enemy.
I definitely missed the boat.
I got one! I got one!
The narrator takes a few shots at one of his enemies, but is unable to down him. The narrator is then joined by number 2, and they both decide to loot the boat together. Number 2 decides to stand on top of a helmet so that he can... The narrator decides to stand on top of a helmet so that number 2 can see him and find it. But it appears that number 2 is completely ignoring him.
Oh my... Oh no!
Number 4 is unfortunately knocked and is unable to get back up. Unfortunately, without a scope, the narrator is unable to make the shots land that he needs to. Unfortunately, it is down to just the last of the two of them, and they must hold this point or die trying. Due to the location of the circle, it is beside the fact whether or not they stay to fight them off or leave for the circle immediately. Unfortunately, number 2 does not appear to have a mic, and thus the rest of the game sounds like it's going to be rather boring.
I have a mic.
Number 2 confirms that he does indeed have a mic, but that he's not sociable.
I'm sociable.
The narrator luckily finds one of his favorite weapons, and the extended mag to make it a viable choice for the rest of the match. Feeling a little daring, the narrator decides to leave the boat.
Shit. 260. He's down in that warehouse. Just in front of the boat here.
Number 2 confirms that the shooter is in the warehouse, and so the two of them decide to push him. The narrator is unfortunately knocked, and his teammate is soon followed. And so ends an unfortunate game to a BBC narrator plays PUBG. Hoping to rectify his last game, the narrator cues in to yet a second, hopefully finding a better team that will not die as quickly.
Can I say it again?
I'm seeing the eye of the storm.
Unfortunately,
No.
many of his teammates sound like they're retarded, and the narrator finds himself with dashed hopes of a chicken dinner. Unfortunately, it sounds like one of them has tuberculosis and will soon die, whether or not it's in the game or in reality.
The dab. It was a dab. I'm not gonna die. I'm gonna be really high though.
Looking at the map, the narrator finds that no one has placed a mark yet, and so the narrator is still unsure where he should drop. One of the players marks military base, which is a viable drop, but extremely far.
Let's go here. Military base too far away.
No. Stop being a little bitch. God damn it. Man up, guys. Come on.
That's a bad word, you're not supposed to be saying it.
I'm sorry. Fuck, I forget all the time.
Guy, you just said a bad word again, oh my gosh.
Holy fucking shit.
Stop saying bad word.
Okay, I'm sorry. I won't anymore.
The beginning of the match starts with a bunch of playful banter amongst the characters, as they decide
Fucking hilarious,
to
motherfucker.
jump out of the plane and head towards the military base. The narrator pulls his chute early, ensuring that he will be able to make the drop all the way to the island.
Yeah, I don't think you're gonna make it.
the narrator observes that a squad of 3 players is also dropping in the general vicinity of number 3 and number 2, while number 1 is still high in the sky, just like the narrator, and will most likely make it to the military base
I got a
about
bike.
the same time as the narrator himself.
I'm high in the dab.
As the rain begins to fall, the narrator hopes that the wetting of his parachute will not cause him to fall to his death.
Yes, it will.
I've been in the eye of the storm.
One declares that he has been in the eye of the storm, and is his
I got
great
bike.
encouragement to the narrator, seeing as he lives in Florida and has to deal with hurricanes on a regular basis.
Come run this guy over. There's a guy on top of the hill to my 65, dude. We can run him over.
Where is it?
One guy. One guy orange to your left. Run that motherfucker over.
Number 1
Up here,
and number
up here,
2
up on the hill, up on the hill.
both can collaborate together to run one of the players over in a
I
vile
didn't see it.
motion of human violence.
You see it. Let's go. My car's stuck in here.
The player, unfortunately, is still living and is following number 2 into the compound, hopefully getting loot and then murdering the man who just tried to
Hey,
run
I
him
got
over.
punched. I got to death. I got punched him to death. It's getting guns.
Dude, get that motherfucker.
I'm trying.
Look, I don't have a gun yet.
The narrator quickly grabs weapons and decides to head for his other partners in hopes of being able to save them from an imminent
dead.
death.
Holy fucking shit, kid, you're the shit.
I'll just get got like 200 AK bullets that fast.
The narrator, hearing that the player is dead, turns around to head back and loot some more, in hopes of finding scopes and armor adequate to take him to the end of the game. The narrator is especially pleased that his frame rates are staying high, seeing as this is being recorded for YouTube and it usually puts an extreme stress on his computer.
We are in our YouTube. Are you a YouTuber?
One of the players asks the narrator if he's a YouTuber, but unfortunately, he cannot answer because he is only narrating in the third person.
Oh, that's why. Okay, fine.
I think we're getting a chicken dinner, guys. I like this team.
Yeah, I love to.
One of the players commentates that due to the compensation of the team, he seems to think that the players will all receive a chicken dinner.
Chicken motherfucking dinner.
He then emphasizes the fact with a lump of profanity coming from his mouth.
Yeah, watch your language, man.
I am sorry.
The player apologizes and this is acceptable to the rest of the team. As the narrator gathers guns and weaponry, he soon finds himself in possession of quite good weapons, but unfortunately does not have the attachments to make them quite viable yet.
I said.
On the upside, the narrator has found himself a crossbow, and decides he is going to take this game to the next level. With a 3-times scope mounted on the crossbow, he then heads out of his building in search of another one to loot. Hoping
Is
to
there anybody near you?
One of them asks the narrator if there is anyone near him. Fortunately for the narrator, there is not.
Good.
The narrator is extremely pleased to find a 4-times scope to go on his crossbow, which means his approximate range of kill with a target standing still will be approximately 300 yards, seeing as he has spent many hours practicing in the range.
That's cool.
As the red zone settles down over top of the team, they find themselves ducking under cover so that the bombs will not kill them mercilessly.
I need a cower.
In his search for parts and attachments, he finds himself carrying an extra 2 3-times scopes, which he will share with the rest of his companions to ensure that they have all the equipment needed to win the game.
Bomb's coming.
Upon finding a level 3 backpack, the narrator decides that he's going to take a risk and pick it up against his better judgment, seeing as it usually sticks up above the grass and alerts other players to his location when he is prone.
Is anyone need M4?
One of the players asks if the other players need an M4, but this is actually unnecessary due to the fact that the narrator already has one and has come across many in his findings.
Okay, good. You need a first aid kit? And I don't want to need a first aid.
Unfortunately, the player who is asking questions does not emphasize his words properly, and others cannot understand him. The narrator finds himself in possession of a cheek pad and a compensator for a sniper rifle, and decides to keep them in case his companions are in need of them.
There's SKS right here.
Following that statement, one of the other players notifies the others that there is an SKS at his location.
Right, a spot. I marked it.
With the blue zone coming in, the narrator sets out across the field in hopes of finding a vehicle and getting his butt out of the area before the blue zone closes. For a brief moment, the narrator finds himself lagging behind. But the computer quickly catches up and then continues to perform productively. Deciding to take his motorcycle across the bridge, the narrator sets out to find number 3 in hopes of teaming up with him and securing a position at the end of this. at the end of the bridge. But unfortunately, there are campers all over the bridge, and he is forced to flee before he can do much else. Fortunately, the narrator makes it to the compound where number 3 is located, and he sets inside to med up and join the fray. Unfortunately, number 1 and number 2 are likely to meet their deaths on the bridge, even though they were warned ahead of time by the narrator
I
of the
killed that
impending
guy.
danger.
I ran over that guy.
With their motorbike in tow, number 1, or number 4 and number 3 head out for the zone, leaving behind their dead comrades. Unfortunately, number 3 does not know how to pilot a motorcycle very well and flips it over. With the mist setting in, it is looking like a very good game for the narrator, seeing as he's using a crossbow and needs his opponents to come into a decent range before he risks firing. In a moment of calm before they head out again, the narrator stops to drop a number of attachments for his teammate and hopes that they will help him aid the game's progress. Moving out into the fog, the narrator takes to crouching and walking across the field, seeing as he does not want to make noise to attract attention to himself. Armed with a crossbow, a 4-axe scope, and 9 extra bolts in his quiver, the narrator sets out, hoping to get a couple kills before the fog lifts. In a moment of inspiration, the narrator heads for a radio tower, hoping that the height and silence of his weapon will allow him to get a couple kills without anyone finding out where he is. Looking through his 6-times scope, the narrator is just barely able to see to Milta, but is unable to locate any enemy players. With the 2 of them crouched on the top of the radio tower, they sit and they wait for the incoming prey. With the blue zone slowly closing in, the narrator looks to the south, hoping to see players coming in with it. With the game going so long already and no kills, the narrator is beginning to find himself bored, wishing that he could kill someone and actually have some excitement this game. As a plane flies over, it drops a care package approximately 400 yards out, with very little chance of any of them actually getting it. Unfortunately, the narrator's partner does not realize that he is making more noise crawling around than he would if he was simply crouching and sneaking. With the zone moving, it is likely a best choice that they all start moving out. Having made a leap of faith, number 3 must take a moment to treat himself for injuries before he sets out across the field. Because of the initial flight of the plane, it is likely that more players are going to be at their back as they enter the circle than would be desirable. The narrator's boredom is soon to be quenched. Not wanting to be caught in the zone, the narrator quickly heads for the circle, hoping to get there and camp the edge in hopes of getting some kills before the circle closes again. The narrator quickly sees 2 players in front of him at 60 degrees. He quickly heads directly for them, hoping to get a kill or 2 before they are done. Not wanting to scare them up before they get into range, the narrator decides to circle around to the north in hopes of getting an angle on them where they cannot shoot. By the sounds of the weapon fire from the shack, it looks like one of the enemies has a VSS, a terrifying weapon in the right hands. Using the topography to their advantage, they move in. Luckily, their conflict is soon rectified with a good grenade. After taking a moment to heal, they will loot the enemy's corpses, and then head for the circle again. With the circle moving in quickly, the narrator decides that it is time to stand and run, rather than wait for the circle to eat his HP slowly. With the circle in a decent position, the narrator hopes to use the topography as a way to keep himself covered out in the open. With no enemy players in sight and only 12 left alive, it is unlikely that they will be able to kill many more before the final circles close. Due to the positioning of the circle, number 1, or the narrator, decides to head north to his friend number 3 in hopes of being able to find the rest of the enemies. The narrator wonders why his companion is not using his medical supplies to recover his HP as fast as possible. The narrator finds that the circle is closing around logging camp, someplace that he used to drop on a regular basis, but is soon plagued by network lag, which lags him behind for just a moment. In the past, it was the narrator's habit to land at logging camp for his initial looting, and thus he knows the terrain quite well, and believes it is best to stay on the west end of the camp. Players have been sighted at the Harry Potter house at 85 degrees. It looks like there were 2 of them. A properly placed nade could take the entire team out. With the circle closing in and still 9 players left, 7 others besides the narrator and his partner, this could be quite the momentous end to the game. Fortunately, the circle favors the narrator and his partner. Hearing gunshots, they immediately turn to the northwest in hopes of being able to land a shot of opportunity. One missed crossbow bolt ends in not being... The air is thick as the conflict between these players begins again. The narrator lands a shot with his crossbow, but unfortunately it's time to bring out the big gun, because the enemy is going to be moving in quite quickly. The enemy is knocked, but the narrator must continue running. The narrator receives 2 kills and must now deal with the other 2 players. It is up to him and his scope. The players are pushing him, and therefore he brings out his grenade. The bomb goes off, but does not land any kills. The enemy has a VSS. This is not good for the main player. The narrator is killed, and now it is up to the last 3 who will win. The skill level of this player is unknown, seeing as he is randomly shooting random shots at the apparent location of his enemy. And he lands the kill. Good for Illusi. So ends another epic play of the narrator from BBC Plays PUBG. Thanks for watching. Okay, everybody. So we had a bit of fun today. I know this is a little odd. My camera's all out of whack and everything, and I'm all blurry. But I saw this video of a British narrator playing Fortnite the other night, and I figured, you know, Fortnite is a garbage game for some of us people. There are a lot of people that actually like playing Fortnite. That's fine. I have friends who play Fortnite. We're still friends. But for me, it's just a little too cartoony. Dang, I hate how out of zoom this is. I'm sorry, guys, but this is like the best I can get it. My camera stinks sometimes. But anyway, so the original BBC actor from Planet Earth apparently decided to play Fortnite, and so I'm like, you know what, PUBG deserves its own BBC voiceover. So I decided to do this. It was a lot of fun, and yes, this is actually my voice. So I hope you enjoyed the video. It was fun to make, even though we didn't actually get to chicken dinner. We actually had some fun kills, and it was fun to cast. And I don't know, maybe I'll do another one. If you guys like the video enough, hit the subscribe down below, hit the like button. That helps me know that you guys really appreciate the content that I'm putting up in the channel. And if you want me to do another one, just type it in the comments or just keep spamming that like button or something. I don't know. But anyway, have yourselves a good one, folks, and I will see you for some hardcore Minecraft in the live stream in just a few minutes. This video is actually going to be uploaded later on this evening. I hope you've enjoyed, and I shall see you all at about 7 p.m., folks. Have yourselves a good one.